Hello and welcome to Dartmouth-Hitchcock's Heads Up Coping Through COVID-19. I'm Audra Burns from Dartmouth-Hitchcock. Today we are going to focus on maintaining a healthy body and a healthy mind during COVID-19. Certainly two things that most of us find challenging to balance, so I'm excited to have a panel of experts here to help us through this. So please help me welcome Dr. Patrick Ho. He's a psychiatrist and chief resident at Dartmouth-Hitchcock. Hi, Dr. Ho.
Hello, great to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Lisa Madden, President and CEO of Riverbend Community Health in Concord. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Great to have you. Now we have Charlie Olsen, a very special young gentleman with us. He is New Hampshire's Kid Governor. Welcome, Charlie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And Scott Prunier, founder, head trainer, and program director at Top Fitness in Nashua. Hi, Scott.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
And it's going to be a great one. So why don't we go ahead and kick off with you, Scott? So how is physical health and exercise related to mental health? And what advice can you give specifically to student athletes so they can cope with the challenges brought on by COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. We've often thought of just physical activity as something that is good for our cardiovascular health. It's good with how it makes us look, or decreasing weight, or something that you see in the New Year's resolutions. But now these past 12 months has really been tough mentally for a lot of people, and exercise has some great benefits to it. It can lower levels of decrease anxiety, improve your self-confidence. It helps us sleep better. It enhances cognition, and it's been used to even treat mild depression. I'm sure Dr. Ho can speak on that more extensively, but so it's very important that these mental benefits, you can take these right away. So by exercising, some of these mental benefits you're getting in 5 minutes, versus like some of the physical benefits you're looking at, okay, that might take weeks or months to achieve. The mental benefits, I think, are just the immediate effects that we can gain from exercise. And as far as tips, that's a beautiful thing about exercise. It can range from 5 minutes to an hour a day. So it doesn't have to be extremely hard. You can go out for a brisk walk. If you don't have 30 minutes, you can do something as little as 5 minutes, and you could do yoga. It could be for the adult, it's just getting up and moving around the house, stretching, which often applies right now to kids who are learning remote. They're stuck in front of a computer, they're sitting a lot, nowadays, versus in years past, they're changing classrooms, or they're getting up for recess, or they're playing their sports. So I think it just, I try to, set little reminders throughout the day to either get up and move around, and just, think of exercise as how it's going to make you feel, versus, solely focusing on the physical aspects of exercise.
Yep, that's a great point. I think even with my own kids, sometimes the exercise during the day they get in between Zoom calls is from their computer to the kitchen. And that's really, we need to get them moving more than that. And you brought up a really great point that we all do physical activity, and we're trying to get those benefits, but we physically don't see a change for a long time. But what you pointed out was, in 5 minutes, it's going to help with our mental capacity and changing, how we're feeling internally. So we may not be physically changing, but what's happening inside is key. So that's a really great mindset to have. Thank you for that. So Dr. Ho, there's an increase in people of all ages, really, who are struggling with depression, anxiety, stress, and other mental health issues. So what are some coping mechanisms that people can practice to help with their anxiety and depression?
Thank you for the question. Excuse me. And I think that's a really excellent question for, what we've all been through over the past year or so. And one of those ways that people do cope, and is a very healthy way of doing so, is taking care of your body. And, Scott brought up some really excellent points about exercise as well. So like you mentioned, taking care of your body and exercising is an important way to fight off anxiety and depression. And regular exercise is just such a positive and healthy way to do that. In fact, exercise has been shown to have many neurophysiological benefits, and those are things like proving to cause neurogenesis. So what that means is causing growth of brain cells, especially in areas of the brain involved in learning and memory. So that's some of what Scott was alluding to when he mentioned that exercise does enhance your cognitive ability to function as well. Exercise, of course, improves symptoms of depression and anxiety. So it's definitely important to try to find ways to start or keep exercising while we're all spending more time at home. So even if that's just being at home and doing a home workout, then it's definitely important to keep yourself moving. So in addition to exercise, other ways to take care of your body, then it's important to try to eat healthy and well-balanced meals, of course, and avoid using too much alcohol, tobacco, or other substances while we're all at home more. And making sure that we're getting plenty of sleep, which can be kind of hard to do when we're just at home all day. But in addition to just taking care of your body, then other ways to make sure that we're coping with anxiety and depression is to just make sure that we're taking time to unwind and do things that we each enjoy. So even though it can be harder to connect with others while we're all locked down, then it's definitely important to find ways to do that. So just checking in with your loved ones and talking to them about how you're feeling, how they're feeling. And then finally, other ways that people have coped and do continue to do so during this period of quarantine is just connecting with community organizations. Which can be really helpful, especially because many of these organizations are having ways that you can connect online too. So a great source of information for New Hampshire about managing mental health during the pandemic is the NAMI New Hampshire website, which we can definitely include a link to.
Yes, I'll definitely include that link here. And that's such a great point that prior to COVID, there was resources out there, but you may have had to drive there or make an appointment and it really didn't fit your schedule. But now everyone's adapting to this platform that we can do remotely. So that's really great to reach out and make sure to know that there are those resources available. So thank you for that. So Lisa,
Oh,
we experience pretty cold weather here in New England. Although spring might be on the horizon, I think true New Englanders know that that could change on a dime. So we don't
right.
really know what it's going to be like. So how does this affect people's mental health?
You know, you're right. I mean, the climate that we endure here in New Hampshire is one that is not for those who aren't hardy, right? We get a lot of cold weather, and that doesn't even include what happens when that wind chill kicks in. And then it's really something to contend with. But just to draw a little bit on what Scott said and what Dr. Ho said is that they're telling you about the importance of physical activity, the importance of what it does for you emotionally to kind of help lift your spirits. Dr. Ho mentioned about the actual physiological impact that it has to develop your brain and be able to generate activity in your brain. That's important information to have. The other challenge of it is that when we're feeling a little not motivated, what can we do to get ourselves motivated to engage in these activities? So it's not, we are seeing a lot of folks that are struggling with, some mild to moderate depression, some mild to moderate anxiety, which is impacting the ability to get motivated to engage. So what we like to see people do is to try to find a way to get outside. There's a value to that sunlight. That vitamin D is really important. And we know in New England, none of us have enough of it. So get outside. Even if you have to do some of your schoolwork by a window or some of your work by a window, try to expose yourself to that light. It's important. It helps our rhythms stay intact. And to really seek a way to be able to engage others. And everyone's feeling a little stuck. So maybe some of the things that you can do with someone else that's within your safety pod right now. And as things start to, we'll talk a little bit about as things start to reopen, what that may look like down the road. But motivation's a little tricky. Get yourself outside, get yourself near some light, and try to pull on some of those things that Scott and Dr. Ho said to be able to lift our spirits.
That's an excellent point. And like Dr. Ho said, it's important to check on people. So why not check on them and offer to go for a walk with them if they're in your safety bubble, because that's something you can safely do away from each other outside, but something that you could do together.
Absolutely.
So that's a great idea. So Charlie, in your Kid Governor inauguration speech, you spoke about doing a lot of sports, having a lot of friends, but COVID and quarantine really changed that for you. How did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, COVID and the quarantine definitely changed my life. During the lockdowns, I started suffering from situational depression, which, like it sounds, it's a depression from a certain thing causing it. I was used to spending time with my friends, playing sports, and being in school, but all that changed. All of a sudden, we were stuck home, not being able to communicate in person. I had stomach aches from mind body connections because I was so stressed out. It gave me stomach aches. I had trouble sleeping at night because I was always worried about what would happen, and I couldn't eat because I get stomach aches and body aches for unknown reasons. I also cried myself to sleep at night. My friend Connor was also suffering from depression. And so our moms decided to make a quarantine. And we spent time together in person. We had to talk to each other, play together. And that made a huge, huge difference. So I knew if it worked for me, it would work for other people too. And one more thing is they don't have to feel afraid to talk about it and they're not alone.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for that. That is so, so powerful. And you're such a brave young man for speaking out about it. And we're so fortunate that you're sharing that, because it is, as parents, we try to ask our kids, are you okay? How are you feeling? And what you're doing is you're helping those kids have that voice to say something and speak up and know that they can get help. So Charlie, thank you so much for that. And we're glad that you're doing so much better, and great job to your parents too.
Thank
So
you.
Scott, what are some ways that younger students like Charlie and even high school students and adults can exercise at home to boost their mental and physical health?
Great question. And there's so many different ways to do it. And I actually love what Charlie said, how he formed a quarantine, because that was one of my suggestions. If you're, let's say Charlie's age, or really any age, if you can, get together with a friend, whether it's playing outside, kicking the ball around, shooting some hoops, going for a walk. Again, like Lisa mentioned, you get the benefits of vitamin D. I mean, that's so important, and just not focusing on, how doing exercise for a different reason. I tell our clients that, motion is lotion. So if you're somebody that suffers from aches and pains, getting up and moving is good. It helps lubricate the body. It helps get you moving. And then I use movement as medicine. And, again, that's a general term, but it's not to diagnose anything, but getting up and moving is so healthy for you. So some things, let's say if it's because it's the winter time, you could do a little body weight routine. You could do some squats, some push-ups, or some wall push-ups. You can, pick some ab exercises to do. You can do some planks. There's so many fitness apps out there now that they give you something as little as 8 minutes to half hour. So I think, the pandemic has really, you've seen an explosion in terms of what is offered via Zoom. I mean, I did a lot of Zoom workouts with we usually work with a lot of teams, and during the winter time this year, we didn't. So, we had a couple teams take advantage of doing Zoom workouts, which I thought was not really going to be that much fun, but it challenged me to become a better coach and to really help other people, prepare for their season, or just be a great part of that person's day. Think of exercise as, my goal is to always be the best part of somebody's day. So when they come in and work with us, to do some training, again, we're a pretty relaxed environment. We focus on being thankful that we can get together and exercise versus, how can we get you faster? Can we get you stronger? So we've had a little bit of a different mind shift. But again, there's yoga that you can do at home. There's meditation that you can do at home. There's again, a bunch of apps for that. There's stretching that you can do. So it can be pretty basic, but I just try to make things consistent, try to establish a new routine for yourself, and don't think you have to do 30 to 60 minutes. Start small. And then, whatever helps make you consistent as part of your new daily routine.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just starting somewhere is helpful. And those, Zoom workouts are great and very useful. And I'll tell you, I do mine with my camera off, but they're fun.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so physical activity, we've spoke a lot about it, and Scott, you gave some really great advice during the segment. So Dr. Ho, what are other ways that people can really boost their mental well-being, knowing, like Lisa said, motivation for people is kind of challenging. So what are some other ways that we can boost our mental wellness?
Great question. And yeah, we definitely have talked a lot about physical activity. And, I wanted to touch on some of the great advice that we've already gotten from Lisa, Scott, and Charlie, because physical activity to me falls under that broader category of just taking care of your body to take care of your physical and mental well-being, really. And so Scott's already given some really great advice, and I really echo what he said. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to just keep your body moving. And in addition to what Scott mentioned, I think my personal advice for how to keep your body moving is just picking something that you love. It's a lot easier to get out there and exercise when it's something that you enjoy doing. So if you're not a big runner and that's not something that you're going to enjoy, then that might not be the best thing to try to incorporate into your daily routine. But just also make sure that you don't really see it as an all or nothing thing. So just because you can't exercise for a whole hour doesn't mean that you can't take 5 to 10 minutes to stretch or just do a quick home workout. And this kind of brings me to my next point too, and just combining exercise with other activities as well. So for instance, you can walk around while you talk on your phone with a loved one, while you're doing that thing where you check in with your friends and family member to make sure that they're okay and that you're connecting as well. Of course, maintaining social connections to one another is definitely a very important way to maintain well-being as well. So that's kind of a point unto itself. But some of the things that have really been detrimental to everybody's well-being during this time has been how unpredictable everything has been and how hard it can be to separate your work life from other parts of your life when we're really mostly at home nowadays. So for this reason, making a schedule and making a plan for your days can help you to take some control back over what's happening around you and make things a little bit more predictable for you. It can also help you to separate work from other parts of your life. And I think the last thing that I wanted to say here is that you should just take moments to be kind to yourself. We're all doing the best that we can with the resources that we have during this time. And we don't, frankly, have as many of the resources as we're used to having around us from before the pandemic. So I think it's really important to be proud of ourselves for the things that we are able to accomplish on a day-to-day basis, even if it isn't quite as much as we wanted to or thought that we would.
That's such a great point, checking in with ourselves, because we're all living through something that we never were prepared to live through. So let's take a moment to appreciate, how we've, what we're doing, our little moments, and taking that time for ourselves to check in. That's a really great point. And that kind of takes me to my next thought with you, Lisa. So much change has been happening, and not all of us do really well with change. So what advice do you have for people as, we're going to start seeing COVID restrictions lifted eventually, and it's going to start changing what we view as what our normal life is? How can we cope with that? What advice do you have?
These are really great points. And, I'm going to build a little bit off of what Dr. Ho said about being kind to yourself and being gentle to yourself. So we have all been through a traumatic event. COVID has been traumatic for all of us. People cope in different ways. Some people have been able to cope with it without as much stress as others, but we have to recognize and appreciate and kind of honor the fact that this has been a very difficult time. And how we've gotten through it, we need to applaud the fact that we have. We've all experienced some loss. We've all lost out in either events. We may even have lost loved ones. That's a big deal. And so recognizing it is important. Just as important is we need to prepare ourselves for the reentry, for coming back, and for the transition of back into the community, maybe to be able to rebuild some of the things that we lost. But what I would also encourage people, not only be gentle with yourself, but be gentle with others. Everyone experienced this differently. People may not be the same as they were before. People may have heightened angst over certain things. They may be more fearful. They may be a little bit more hypervigilant about what they can and cannot do. we have to be able to allow people to kind of go through that transition, not only for ourselves, but for the people around us, and to respect that piece. And to be patient and kind. Take it slowly. Pace your, what you do next with what you feel comfortable doing. And it's okay if it's not everything at once, because that's just not even realistic for what we've been through. We still have a lot of restrictions. We still have to be super careful about who we're with in a public environment. There's going to be more opportunity for smaller groups and for your family network, but you're still going to have to use caution in larger groups. And that's something that we can expect. And it's going to feel strange. We've spent so much time being really good at isolating ourselves. Now we're going to really push ourselves to not be isolated as much and to re-engage in school and sports and activities. We're going to have to be a little bit tolerant of our own ambivalence with that and know that it will take a little bit of time, and that's okay. We will get there. But like everyone has said today, to keep moving yourself forward, try to do something that moves you forward, and to be patient with yourself and be gentle with yourself in the process.
Yeah. And thank you for reiterating the point that we still need to, practice precautions. Just because we're getting vaccinated, we can't jump right back into normal life. We still need to be wearing our masks and social distancing. So that's a great reminder. And it's also what you mentioned was really important, that we may be coming out of this, certain people might be coming out really excited, but those that we love or haven't seen in a long time might be coming out of it after having lost someone. So we're all coming out of this differently, and to be aware of that. So that's such a great point. Thank you for that. So Charlie, I want to ask you, what you said earlier was so powerful, and it's, we're so appreciative. So I would love to know, what advice do you have for other kids who are struggling with depression or anxiety that you could share?
Well, so you can be at recess and you fall and hurt your knee. Your knee is all cut up. And you go up to the teacher and you're not afraid to tell her that you hurt your knee, but you're afraid to tell her that you're not feeling mentally well. You don't have to be afraid to talk about it, and you're not alone. Other people are feeling depressed too. You don't have to feel like you're the only one, or that no one's there to support you. People are there to support you, and like I said, you don't have to do this alone.
That's right. You certainly don't have to do it alone. And thank you so much for that, Charlie. And we'll be sure to link information to your Kid Governor information, because I really think people need to learn a lot more about you. So thank you, Charlie, so much for joining us. And thank you to my other experts, Dr. Ho, Lisa, and Scott, for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye now.
So in 2 weeks, we're going to discuss parenting young children who have to adapt to their education during COVID. You can view past presentations of Heads Up Coping Through COVID-19 on the link on your screen, as well as those resources that we mentioned. Please stay healthy and stay safe. Take care.